Hello everyone, my name is Nathan Davis. I am one of the founding members of Cryptid Studies Institute, or Cryptid SI. You can check us out at cryptidsi.org. We also had a radio show called Chasing Night Shadows Radio, and we may bring that back in short order. We haven't decided yet, but if you want to check out our previous shows, you can do so also there. Just go to the Chasing Night Shadows link and then go to archives, and you can listen to the previous shows there. I think I have most of them all up there. Also on Blog Talk Radio, you can go there and listen to them as well. I'm doing this video today to go over basically what's come up in the Bigfoot news lately, which is about Rick Dyer. One of those people that we didn't think would come back into the Bigfoot community after '08, but reared his ugly head a year ago, saying that he shot a Bigfoot. And it's been a year, over a year actually, since then, and supposedly now we have images of Hank. To me, it looks like a badly sculpted face, and the hair looks like that of a yak or some hooved animal. It doesn't look like a Bigfoot hair. It looks like it was badly taxidermied, which, I mean, when you're trying to make a form from something that you don't have a form for, that might be the case, because there are no Bigfoot forms, in taxidermy. So, for those that believe Rick Dyer, the past speaks for itself. For me, it doesn't surprise me who's jumped on his bandwagon. I think there are a number of people in the Bigfoot community that get involved not because of, wanting to be at the forefront of discovery, that have curiosity and want to find out more about these creatures, but are involved for fame and money. And a number of people that have jumped on his bandwagon, have that mentality, including Facebook Find Bigfoot, which, a lot of the videos that they find to be credible, I don't. And that's nothing against them. Their techniques are not scientific. They're flawed. They're using evidence that you pulled or garnered from videos to come up with your evidence that this is the gate, and all these things that can't be duplicated to validate these videos. It's not the Jeff Meldrum approach. I have a lot of respect for him. He has used scientific method in order to validate his understanding of the gait and walk, footfall, weight distribution, everything within the foot cast that he's found, the dermal ridges, everything that he has tried to validate have been validated through use of scientific method and what he has learned from being an anthropologist. I don't see that with Facebook Find Bigfoot. I see, somebody that just tries to sound scientific in his analysis, but, isn't. And a lot of people point out, that, this isn't, there's inconsistencies here. This isn't a real video. This is why, and, they just go back to the method that they've come up with as validation. And that's not necessarily the best way to do things. I mean, if somebody's pointing something out, you analyze it. You don't sit there and say, well, this is the method we use, and by this method we validated this video. So I think that those that have gotten involved in this and those that have sided with Rick Dyer are going to be sorry that they did so. They're going to lose credibility if they haven't already. Many of them have. And the key player in this, Muskie Allen, from what I've read, has come forward and said that Rick Dyer does not have a body, among others that were part of Team Tracker that were kicked out. Um, I think that if you want to jump on a bandwagon, you know, you should be very cautious when doing so. You shouldn't just jump right on. And a lot of the people that did, uh, you didn't look at it critically. Um, yeah, people can change. Yes, people can, change their colors, change their stripes. They can, become a upstanding individual. But that's not the case here. It's the same old Rick Dyer from '08, just with an updated body. One that he got done with a taxidermist instead of buying a costume offline from Horror Dome. That's the only difference here. That and it's not in a freezer. And you don't have Tom Biscardi involved. And I think Tom Biscardi in '08 was involved. Maybe not initially, but he saw an opportunity to garner some money from it. And that's just my opinion. I think that what he did was he took and told them how to do this so that, they could garner some revenue from it and then pull out at the last minute so that it didn't hurt their reputation all that bad. Basically they had an escape plan that went awry at the end when it was shown that the body was fake. They wanted the body to disappear. And that might be what happens here. I think that, and I thought that's what was going to happen when Rick Dyer came out a month ago and said, there's not going to be a body. I couldn't get it, or, it's gone, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, he had the body. Which is weird to me anyway. But, so I don't know how he's going to get out of this now. But he's supposedly going to have a press conference where they're going to show the body and do all this stuff. And I just read an article on the blog of, what's his name, Robert Lindsay. And, who's a Rick Dyer believer, saying that they're getting a scientific team together to present the body to the press. And it's going to take time because, they don't want Rick Dyer to do it because he's not really, a well-spoken, or educated individual to be doing this. So they want somebody that's educated that can answer the questions, those hard-hitting questions. No. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. If you can look at the pictures now that Rick Dyer has provided and believe that to be real, even in taxidermied form, it looks fake. The hair doesn't look right. The face doesn't look right. It looks like a bad sculpture. The eyes don't even look like they ever were open. They look like they were carved into clay. And it doesn't match the tent video. The Bigfoot in that doesn't match. And one of the individuals that was involved in Team Tracker said that that was CGI. Others have said it was a costume. Either or. When I saw that Rick Dyer shot it, I more than likely took it as fake. Or I did take it as fake, excuse me. Because, it's Rick Dyer. I will say it was a convincing video. But there was very little there. The only thing you got was the upper head. It's kind of like those that, look at the what is it called? Camera video or camera shot of the back of, a supposed Bigfoot. I'd say that's more convincing than what Rick Dyer has. The hair is more consistent with Bigfoot hair but it's still something that we'll never know. I think we can sit there and look at these pictures over and over again of from a camera trap, or we can look at Patterson-Gimlin footage all day long and speculate till we're blue in the face, and it will never garner any more information, than what was captured at that one moment. And I think people waste a lot of time arguing over those different things. This, on the other hand, I think people need to scrutinize this for the main reason that we don't want Rick Dyer back. We don't want Rick Dyer to do this again. We want to make it assured, without any shadow of doubt, that Rick Dyer is a liar. And we shouldn't allow an escape clause. We shouldn't allow him to be able to escape this. Now, I'm not talking about jail time. That's not possible. I mean, those that sit there and say, oh, he should be in jail. How? Unless you find some sort of financial evidence that validates that, he did something fraudulent in order to garner those funds, then I understand that, but I don't think you're going to do that. Gullibility is not, a jailable offense. Taking advantage of the gullible, I should say. P.T. Barnum did it for decades. So, and he never went to jail. He used taxidermied pieces to make claims that he had mermaids and all kinds of stuff in the sideshows. So do many others, in that industry. And here we have a circus sideshow taking a tour. The I Told You So tour of Rick Dyer, where he has this supposed taxidermied Hank the Bigfoot in the back of this trailer that he's pulling around with his tracker, that he's got all decked out for Team Tracker. It's just mind-boggling to me that people actually buy this, believe this. I will say, again, that I'm not surprised at those that have jumped on this bandwagon. There are many in our industry, I shouldn't say many, I don't want to implement everybody, or too many people, because I don't think a lot of people in this industry are in it for the wrong reasons, but there are those that are. And there are people in this that the main reason they're in it is for fame and fortune at the forefront. That the only things they care about are becoming rich and famous off the discovery of Bigfoot. And that should not be the reason you're involved in this. And many of those people receive more ridicule and hateful comments than they do fame and fortune. But, we do have the Tom Biscardis and other people in this industry that have made a big business out of, Bigfoot. Unfortunately, I think a lot of his fame went to crap after '08. But especially when you have somebody like Ivan Marks as your mentor, that should say a lot. But anyway, this isn't about him. I normally don't put down people in this community. I don't put down people in the Bigfoot community. I try to stay away from that for the most part. I don't believe in it. I don't think it aids in anything. In this case, though, I think that we do need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because every time that Rick Dyer and people like him gain notoriety and news attention for an obvious hoax, it does not help us out. I remember, you know, Ray Wallace when he died, and they came out and said he was Bigfoot, and that it was his hoaxes that, created this legend, and, there was nothing before him, which was a lie. And it angered me that, the media bought into it so vehemently. In '08, when this came out, I saw the pictures, and right when I saw the pictures of the Bigfoot in the freezer, I knew it was fake. Then when Tom Biscardi got involved, I really knew it was fake. But I, for the most part, kept my mouth shut until after, the cow excrement hit the fan, basically. And then I, said what I had to say. In this case, it pretty much has already. We're close to it. He's supposedly going to have a press conference and all that, so that's really when it's going to hit. And if it doesn't happen, then, you're going to have those that believed him that are going to defend it for whatever reason. I'm still waiting for the escape plan here. If he doesn't have one, he's just, going to disappear with the money that he's garnered from this. I don't see this coming out as real. But again, I don't put people down. Usually. I try to stay out of the attacks. But in this case, it's mind-boggling, the illogical nature of this whole thing. Guy takes a year to come out with a body. People defend it. People sit there and say, well, he had issues with the investors and all that, even though they don't know who the investors are. Nobody's been able to track that down. There's trails whenever there's any kind of transactions, but nobody's been able to figure anything out. And now he's got new investors, supposedly, but nobody knows who they are. These type of things are red flags with any kind of con or scam. And the simple fact is there's no information here to validate that there's an actual body. Even with the pictures I've seen, they're fake. They look fake. It's upsetting to me. And it was in the beginning when Rick Dyer came out and said that he shot a Bigfoot. My mind was boggled at the people that got behind him. I was like, but this is the Rick Dyer from '08 that, supposedly had the Bigfoot in the freezer that didn't, and, it was a hoax. And he admitted it. And he's, said, hey, it's Bigfoot. It's not real. And then all of a sudden he's a believer that shot Bigfoot, that was doing all these different things. Had Team Tracker, which, he kept going after '08, that event, doing expeditions and things like that, making money off of that. Even though he had come on the news and said that, he didn't believe in Bigfoot. So, I don't know. I think if you buy into this, if you believe it, you're going to be sadly mistaken. You're going to be hurt by the fact that it's not real. Those that are standing behind him, thinking that they're going to get 15 minutes of fame or ride on his coattails or whatever your ideas are, or whatever you think you're doing, it's not going to work out in your favor. You're going to lose total credibility in the community. And, I mean, that's your choice. I don't know what Rick Dyer's, ideas or plans are. I mean, I really think it's stupid. I think any con artist that does stuff like this, eventually you don't, you die without any friends. I mean, not wishing his death. I'm just saying that, whenever your time comes, you die penniless and without friends, because, you run the gamut, you run the course. Your lies no longer work, and people don't believe you. And there's only so many times you can cry wolf. And this is number 2. The third time is when the wolf comes around and eats you. So, I don't think people will believe him if he comes out again and says, I've done this or that or whatever. I mean, I also think it hurts you personally as well. I mean, if you go to look for a job or whatever, I mean, who's going to hire somebody that is a known liar? Just doesn't make any sense. And there's so many people that, there's a guy that wrote a song about Hank and Rick Dyer and how he's the best Bigfoot tracker in the world. I got a song for you. Rick Dyer is a liar. But that's it. That's the whole song. Yeah, extensive lyrics. Took me a long time to write. But thank you. Appreciate that. I mean, I worked hard on that one. But that's really what it is. That sums it up. He's a liar. He has the perfect last name. I don't see the point to it. I don't see why he's doing it. It's an obvious fake. I mean, anybody that looks into it that has any type of taxidermy experience, said it's fake. Anybody has any makeup experience says it's fake and amateurish. I mean, and I've seen taxidermy, animals, and you could tell that it used to be skin. And for what is the face, it doesn't look like it used to be skin. It looks like it was clay or plaster, mold. It doesn't look real. And the hair does not look like Bigfoot hair. It looks like the fur of some sort of, hooved animal. It could be bear. I don't know. The only way I could be able to tell is if I touched it. But, no. It's not real. And if it comes out that it's actually real, that's fine. I wouldn't get behind Rick Dyer because I don't support the killing of a Bigfoot. There's 3 things here. There's 3 reasons I wouldn't get behind Rick Dyer. I don't support the shooting of a Bigfoot. I don't think you learn anything from shooting a Bigfoot. I think that, the Jane Goodall approach is better than, killing something. You only learn the physical aspects of a creature. You don't learn anything about their habits or anything like that. When Jane Goodall went out there with the chimpanzees, there was a lot of misconceptions about chimpanzees and their habits that she squashed. And she was ridiculed. Many people don't remember that Jane Goodall was ridiculed for wanting to go out there and doing that, to do what she was doing. But now it's mimicked by many biologists and other scientists, because you garner more information about the habits and vocalizations and other aspects of these creatures. So a lot of the scientific advancement we've had since Jane Goodall is due to her approach. So that's one reason. 2, past history speaks for itself. Somebody that has that much notoriety as a hoaxer, I'm not going to get behind. I don't see the reason for doing that. I just don't see it. And number 3, I think that for me, I'm not in this for fame. I'm not in this for fortune. I'm not in this for those type of reasons. And I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon because, especially because of number two, just because I see an opportunity at fame and fortune. And I see a lot of that with this, again, because I'm not surprised the people that did so. So those are my three reasons for not really jumping on the bandwagon with Rick Dyer. And, you know, here we are a year later, and I really don't see the evidence to support his claims. There's a lot of inconsistencies here. And those that still support him and those that still are behind him are naively trying to piece these things together. And really, when somebody's been had, when somebody's been lied to and they believe it and they fall for it, it's really hard to admit that you've been had and you fell for it. And instead of doing that, you come up with more and more complex reasonings why what you believe is true. And so for those dots that don't connect, you come up with some sort of connection, even if it doesn't make sense to others, to validate the reasoning why you stayed when it was proven that it was a lie. And I see a lot of that right now. You know, when the picture came out, I saw a lot of people posting it that were his supporters on Facebook and Twitter and other places, as proof that, you know, they were on the right team. When many people were saying that it was fake, and they were saying, you know, it's real. Look, see, he brought out the body. Well, I'm going to wait for the press conference. And I'm sure it's going to basically show, if it does happen, that it's a hoax. But I think something's going to happen so that the press conference never comes to fruition. And that's really what I think is going to happen, is that there's something that's going to happen in the near future that's going to make it so that that press conference doesn't come about. Again, Rick Dyer's a liar, people. It's been proven. You know, I have to give it to him. He's very good at spin. He's very good at making himself sound believable, and he's an excellent troll. I think it's you know, if you start believing your own hype, it makes it much easier, and I think in this case that's what it is. He's believed his own hype, so it makes him sound believable to those that are gullible. And yeah. And I think that, you know, he's an excellent troll for the simple fact that he has gotten people drummed up. Those that don't believe him feed into it. And I would say don't do that. I mean, you know, don't call him names. Don't cuss him at him. Don't do those different things because you're feeding into it. Calling him a liar, well, that's just calling him what he is, you know. In 2008, he was a liar. In 2014, he's a liar. You know, that's not calling him a name. That's just saying what he is. When it comes to this, I don't see anything that proves otherwise right now. And if it does come about that he really did or does have a Bigfoot, then I'll apologize. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that it's going to go down as one of those things where people that bought into it are going to sit there and defend it till the bloody end and beyond, really. I mean, then it's going to be, well, I believed it because blah, 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 blah. Or he really did have a body, but I don't know what happened to that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people bought into this a year ago. I really don't. A number of those individuals never saw the body. But again, it didn't surprise me that they jumped on the bandwagon. So, Rick Dyer is a liar, and you can believe him if you want. But if you look into the past history, you look into those that have looked at the pictures, that have knowledge of the special effects industry, taxidermy, you'll get a better understanding. Don't sit there and because you were gullible enough to fall for it, don't keep perpetuating the lie because you don't want to come forward. Sometimes you have to humble yourself to do that. Sometimes you have to be humble and say, I was wrong. But don't do that. You're not helping. Remember that the reason that we got involved in this was to find out more about these interesting creatures, to actually make discoveries, not necessarily for the scientific community, but for us. For you. Some people are not involved in this to, prove anything to anybody else but themselves, to learn more about them because they're their neighbors. They live in the woods behind their house, and they want to learn about them, to communicate with them, to be neighborly, I guess. But so there's different reasons that we got involved. But for me, I'll say this in conclusion, I've gone on for a long time, but I got involved because I did a lot of research. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of encounters and things like that. I never had an experience until I actually got involved in field research. And the reason I got involved in field research was because through a lot of the research I did through reading about encounters and reading about foot casts and hair samples and all the different things that have been found, I found it very unlikely that they did not exist. And so the next viable step is to actually do your own field research. It's like in any scientific study. You start out by doing basically book research to garner information to work up to a certain point, and then you do field research and experimentation to come to your own conclusions. So I didn't come into this with a foregone conclusion that they existed. I came into it with the likelihood that they existed, but it was not conclusive. I came into this with a healthy amount of skepticism. And through my own experiences, I was, there was more and more validation that there was something out there that walked upright and was similar to us intellectually and stature, just taller. And then in 2009, which, if you check out Chasing Night Shadows Radio, on Blog Talk, on our archive shows, or on the cryptidsi.org website, we talk about, myself and Johnny Henderson talk about our experience in 2009, where we actually had an experience with 4 individuals, and actually saw one hiding behind a garbage can, and that's explained in the story that we tell about the experience. And that was complete validation for me that they existed. Now, of course, that's not proof to anyone else, except if you believe our story, that Bigfoot exists. I didn't come out of it with any substantial evidence other than my own eyewitness, testimony and Johnny's. But that was complete validation for me that Bigfoot existed, that there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it, that there was a ape-like creature roaming the woods of North America. In the past it was almost conclusive. I'd had a number of experiences that I couldn't explain, that there were no logical conclusions to come to, other than there was something out there. But then when I had my own visual encounter, that's when I knew without a shadow of a doubt they existed. So for me, it was all, the reason I got into this was basically to come to the conclusion that they exist or they don't. And for me, I've come to that conclusion. And in a lot of ways, I'm not as involved in Bigfoot research as I used to be. But I pop in and out every once in a while. And we might do a show here and there in the near future. And I'll go out and do field research just because it's fun. And, you do garner something from it. But I don't live in an area where I can do it on a daily basis or anything like that. I don't have an area near me that has considerable activity. I'd have to go quite a distance, and I have traveled quite far to do research. So unless I move to an area, which is in the plans, to an area where there is substantial activity, I'm just not as involved. That would be the next step, is to do something where I was doing something on a daily basis where I could garner some more substantial information than just a chance encounter when I go out. So I do help out people. You can contact me if you want through YouTube or through Bigfoot Nate on YouTube. If you would like to ask my advice on stuff, I've been in this for a long time. And that's fine. I don't mind helping people out. I've had a lot of people ask me information. Sometimes I'm surprised, because I'm like, and sometimes I'm surprised at who's asking, because I'm like, who am I? But I don't mind helping people out and coming to some sort of conclusion as to what they're experiencing, why. Mainly guesswork and going by other primates in our own activities. I kind of come to conclusions using logical, analytical style of reasoning. So, but yeah, I don't mind helping people out. And I normally don't put people down in the industry or attack people, but in this case, I felt it necessary to kind of come out and say something about this, because this is the second time it's happened, and here we are a year after he initially came out and said he killed a Bigfoot. And yeah, I've just seen so many people jump on the bandwagon, and it's just like, this doesn't make sense, other than, again, it doesn't surprise me who was doing it. It didn't make sense that this kept going on, and there was nothing really substantial to validate the claim. And when he finally came out and said, I have pictures, it doesn't look real. So draw your own conclusions, but in the near future we will know for certain. And after that point, if it is completely proven as a hoax, or if not, if it doesn't come to any type of substantial conclusion, we need to guard against having Rick Dyer come back in and bring any kind of evidence forward. he's getting publicity for this, which, that's not surprising because, they go after things that pretty much make fun of the Bigfoot community. Ray Wallace, Rick Dyer, and Tom Biscardi last time, and now this. I mean, they only go for things that don't substantiate the claims that Bigfoot exists. They go after things that say, well, the people that believe in Bigfoot are just ignorant. So we need to guard against this. We need to make sure this doesn't happen again, and that Rick Dyer does not come back into the community. And we should shun those that have sided with him. I'm sorry. If you've gotten behind him, your credibility should not be substantial anymore. You have hurt the community. You've hurt research as a whole. We're here to learn from one another, and if the only thing you're here to do is gain fame and fortune and not really add anything substantial, I have no respect for you. Plain and simple. I've been in a number of groups. I was actually head of one for a while. And I met a lot of different people, and I've learned a lot, not only about this subject but about the people involved. And you can kind of tell the personalities that are not in this for the right reasons, and I choose not to have anything to do with them. So, but anyway, for this video, it's about Rick Dyer and the fact that Rick Dyer is a liar. And that will be proven one way or another in short order. Thanks for watching.